Orangepuddingz, and on the right you'll see TwoCplus. I think the 8 and 9 seeds respectively in this tournament.
Yes.
It's very close when it came to the seeding. We had a race last Saturday to determine seeding order, and the difference between these two came down to 2 seconds.
Wow.
Yeah, insane. So this is going to be a very tight race, aside from the fact that TwoCplus tends to suffer from a little bit longer load time.
Yes, this may be a problem, especially if the race becomes very, very close. I mean, if you lose around 2 or 3 seconds each load, then your disadvantage may sum up very, very quickly, and this may be a problem. But hopefully, TwoCplus will not suffer too much from loadings today, and both players will be able to have a fair and fair battle and without too many troubles and issues. So both players are actually buying their own weapons needed for within the game. The spread, basically, because spread is the only weapon you really need to buy in this run. And Orange is battling the root pack, and TwoCplus is about to do the same.
Yeah, and so we noticed that both players opted to do the tutorial. In this category, since we only need the spread because the weapon swap glitch isn't active, all we need is 4 coins. So if we get the coin from the tutorial plus the 3 from talking to the apple on the bridge, that is enough to last us the entire game. We actually don't see any run and guns whatsoever.
Yeah, because of course the weapon swap glitch doesn't work, and both roundabouts and lobber are decent weapons, but spread is a lot better and is a lot faster in glitchless frameworks, so definitely the best choice.
Yeah, and really any of the first 3 weapons you can buy would work. A spread just happens to be the one that gives the most DPS.
Yes.
If you want anything past that, like charge or lobber, then you're going to have to do at least one of the run and guns because you'll need at least 8 coins.
Yes, and this of course is way slower, and you lose too much time just at beating one extra level with respect to just going through directly to the first bosses and then singing to all the other bosses until the very end. Frog's battle for both racers. This battle is a little bit tricky because it's very easy to lose cycles and lose time simply because you haven't dealt enough damage to load up the third phase fast enough. And this is what happens to Orangepuddingz. Unfortunately for him, damage after the second attack wasn't enough to trigger the last transformation in time, and so he had to wait for another cycle. And this may cost him a little bit of time, and TwoCplus can definitely use this at his own advantage to gain some time. Looks like TwoCplus got the optimal fight right now, so they are about to be pretty much tied up.
Yeah, that is an excellent point, that although the boss has a consistent health bar throughout the entire fight,
Yes.
at particular phases it will transition into its next phase. However, this can't happen in the middle of an attack animation.
Yes.
So if you were to pass that threshold right at the beginning of an attack pattern, then you have to wait out the entire pattern before it will change.
Yeah. And actually what really makes you lose time is that the damage is not carried over, so it's just like the damage bar is locked until you actually the boss have the transition to the last phase, and so you actually are losing time because you can actually damage the boss in that situation. And this is the real reason why you have really to calculate the damage very carefully against the frogs.
So we see Orangepuddingz getting ready to start the second phase of Goopy as TwoCplus is getting ready to start the fight. This is a pretty simple fight. The first two phases, he pretty much jumps around and tries to punch you. The more interesting phase here, I think, is the third one, which you see on Pudding's screen right now, and it's the tombstone, and it tries to squish you, but you can actually, if you're quick enough and have done enough damage, you can beat it before it even tries.
Yes, looks like Orangepuddingz got a pretty interesting time in under 40 seconds, which is pretty solid. And TwoCplus is about to finish his own fight. Last phase is very interesting because you have to very carefully time your EX spreads so that all the eight shot can land on the boss, making the fight a lot faster. And
yeah, the way that EX works is it's a radial attack, and it launches bullets in 8 directions. And so each one of those can actually do damage. And so that's why they're trying to jump up in the middle of the tombstone's hitbox. So that way all 8 of those bullets can hit and all 8 of them can do damage.
Yes. And we will see this trick quite often during the run, especially every time we have a boss whose hitbox actually doesn't hurt that. For instance, as you can see, you can jump through the tomb to the boss without actually taking any damage, and that's the perfect situation to try to pull off the perfect EX spread. And right now, Hildeberg.
Yes, this is. Oh, God.
This boss is pretty much the same as in other categories, such as Arbos's Legacy, because the movements and the shots and actually the strategy is pretty much the same. Of course, you can glitch the boss because in the all bosses regular runs where glitches are allowed, you can actually, by carefully damaging the boss, you can just freeze her one of the intermediate phase, and then without her doing nothing to you, basically. But here you can do that because it's a glitchless run. So.
Yeah. Aside from that, like you mentioned, the strategy on this is basically the same as in a glitch category because at this point you only have one weapon for the plane. So this fight and in the glitchless and glitched categories, in fact, in every category aside from any ILs, you're gonna have the same equipment, and so that really limits what you can do.
Yeah, definitely. So far, pretty clean run for both our players. So very good Island 1. Orangepuddingz is facing the last boss of this island, Cagni Carnation, which is a huge flower that loves trampling you with lots of bullets and lots of attacks at the same time, but it can be sometimes tricky to manage all the stuff happening in the screen. But looks like Orangepuddingz is getting through the boss pretty smoothly, and he got it. He got the flower, and yeah, pretty much a very good first set of 46 is a very good time also. Very solid Island 1 for Orangepuddingz thus far.
Let's see, to answer the question in chat, the time under 2C+ was briefly read there because they were behind whatever they're comparing against. Probably PB, I would imagine. And so because he was a little behind and took a little longer on the earlier stuff, then it's just read to indicate that, hey, you're running a little behind. Doesn't mean anything other than just kind of an indicator of how you're doing versus past performance.
Yes. Of course, it's already in normal situation is already very hard to keep your own PB pace. You can imagine during a race. It's really hard. It's not your first concern, to be honest.
Yeah, that's a big difference in racing versus going for a PB or a record. With going for a PB or a record, you really want to prioritize taking risks. Yeah, at some point, the only way you're going to get better is if you do things that you haven't tried before, if you take those really risky maneuvers that maybe take a little bit of extra damage here and there. With a race setting, though, because the more important thing is to finish before your opponent, your time isn't as important. And so the runners may opt to take it a little bit safer and do the non-risky strats, which will generally take a bit longer, but it would also has a lower probability of them dying or losing significant amount of time. And when you don't know where your opponent is, that can be a very wise thing to do in certain situations.
Sometimes you can if you know your opponent's PB, you can more or less imagine where you stand in the race, assuming that your opponent will race at the same, more or less at the same PB pace, so that you can take his own time as a ball reference. Say, oh, okay, I'm more or less on the same pace of the best time my opponent ever had, so I may be in a good shape or maybe in a bad shape depending on that. So you decide, oh, maybe I decide to take some risks, or maybe it's that, oh, it's better to play safe. There are many ways of handling this, or you can just simply play your game regardless of what your opponent is doing, hoping that your opponent will do worse than you, basically.
You know, see TwoCplus finishing off Beppy as
Yes.
Orangepuddingz getting into the second phase of Jimmy. It looks like he didn't opt to go get the bombs beforehand. I don't know if they will wind up getting that on the way to Bon Bon or not. But at this point in the run, the racers do have the option of picking up the other plane weapon.
Bombs is really useful if you want to have a safer last phase of at Wally Warbles, because you can actually end up in a situation where you have not the boss in front of you, but under you, as you will see later on in the run during Wally Warbles fight. And in that situation, having bombs may help you to play much more safer. But that's just the only situation where the bombs make some kind of difference. In regular settings, picking up bombs costs you time because you have to talk to the guy, you have to load all the screens and the lights. So of course it's faster not to use bombs, but it's a little bit risky.
Yeah, and it winds up coming down to just being a few seconds, just getting through the dialogue and stuff. But a few seconds can make the difference between a win and a loss. And like I said, these racers, their seed times were just 2 seconds apart. So if you can imagine that cutscene probably takes 3 or 4 of them, it could theoretically make the difference there.
Yes, definitely.
I mean, that's literally the difference of getting the bombs or not.
Orangepuddingz is going to face one of the trickiest bosses of the run, Baroness Bon Bon Bon. This battle is a little bit RNG based because the different minions can be taken down at different times depending on the death animation or depending on the attack patterns. So there's a little bit of RNG, and also other minions are easier to take down in respect to others. For instance, the muffin. The muffin is the trickiest one because it's really hard to hit. You have to rely on the bee shooter. The bee shooter doesn't do too much damage, but it looks like Orangepuddingz had so far a very good fight, very clean fight. Whereas the candy corner is a very good minion. It's easy to take down. It's fast. It's very fast to take down. You usually want to see him pretty much every time you face this boss.
Yeah, what the runners are really hoping not to see is the Jawbreaker.
The Jawbreaker.
Yeah, it's not a very hard minion, but the death animation takes a very long time, comparatively.
Oh.
And we'll see it over on TwoCplus.
Call him. Call the Jawbreaker. As you can see, look at how much time he's taking to just leaving the screen. I mean, it's such a cute animation, but you really don't want to see it. run. It takes so
Not
much time. And also the muffin. This is a very bad RNG for TwoCplus. I mean, it also has already taken a hit, so quite a tricky fight. Let's see what he gets. Also, okay, this is actually the easiest minion to face in general. And with 2 HP you can. Oh. Okay,
Yeah, C Plus is gonna have to play it a little safe here. So the way deaths work is it just restarts you at the beginning of the fight, without regards to any progress you made. So you can literally get up to 1 hit away, die, and have to redo the entire fight. For the early fights, it's not as bad because they're relatively short. But for fights like Bonbon and later on, say like King Dice, it can take upwards of 1.5 to 2 minutes, and losing that right at the very end of the fight just sets you back because you have to go through that entire stretch of time again.
If you die at the end of King Dice, you're pretty much done because that fight is over 2 minutes long, so it's very bad if something like that happens. And as you can see, Orangepuddingz is the very last phase of Wally Warbles.
Oh.
He's in a very tricky situation because he's cornered, but luckily for him, he had enough health to survive to the final attacks of the boss. And
he got real lucky with that parry, because if that had hit him, and that's a minute and 10 seconds time loss that you have to redo.
Yes, and TwoCplus had a pretty difficult Baroness fight, but he managed to win that one, and now he's facing the big bird. The second phase, lots of feathers spamming in the screen. We will see a similar pattern, a couple of battles later in the run during the robot fight.
A great plan.
And
And so Orangepuddingz onto what many consider to be one of the first true run killers of this route, the Grim Matchstick. The first phase isn't too bad, kind of your standard just jump on your platforms and dodge things, but once you start getting into phase 2 and 3, it can really mess you up if you're not paying attention.
Yes, especially if you have a low health, it's a very tricky fight because his attacks in the last phase are very difficult to pick and to dodge. You can attack no telegraphing at all, and sometimes if you play too risky, it just lasts you to death. There's nothing you can really do.
Yeah, one of the keys to this fight is, as you see Orange doing, is keep moving. You are completely reliant on the clouds to remain in this fight, and there is no bottom boundary, so if you hit that, you take a damage and jump right back up. So you really want to get good cloud RNG, and for phases like the last one, it can be very difficult to try and predict where those little fires jump. You can try and bait them, but they also tend to like to be little snipers and will jump right where you're headed.
Nice kill by Orangepuddingz. He had a little bit of troubles, especially in the very last moment of the fight. He had some struggling because he missed a couple of shots and he found himself at 1 HP, and at that point the only thing that matters is just survive, and he managed to survive really well. And now TwoCplus, in order to still be into this race, needs to beat the dragon as well. It's in a good shape because he has 3 HP and looks like he should be able to do it with no problems. We will see.
Yes, assuming the dragon cooperates. As you might notice that shooting the little fireballs he shoots out actually makes them split in 4 directions. So using something like an EX can be very costly, or can, I don't want to say costly, I guess, but it can be very dangerous because you don't know where he is going to shoot.
This is another reason why the shots are very unpredictable, because if you hit them, as Salmon said, they split in 4, and actually watch the splitting in 4 sometimes is really hard, because you have to deal with pretty much so much things. You have to hit the boss, you have to watch out for the clouds. It's a tough fight, but both players managed to pass very well. Now they're facing, Orangepuddingz is facing the Rumor on the bottom fight, our beloved B, which now is turning into an airplane.
Oi, oi, oi.
Oi, oi, oi. and TwoCplus is about to do the same. Unfortunately for Orangepuddingz, didn't get a very good pattern, so yes, he has to deal with the third phase as well. With decent RNG, you can actually you can actually kill the bee without she has the chance to turn into an airplane, making the fight, of course, a lot easier and a lot faster. That third phase is very stressful, I would say, because there's much going on. The bee is in a very weird spot. It's very difficult to aim at her. And TwoCplus got a very good pattern. When you get the middle pattern, you can do much more damage with respect to the side patterns. So you really want to see that. And we will see if TwoCplus will manage to skip the third phase. In the meantime, Orangepuddingz is a robot, TwoCplus robot. I can say this is my favorite. The music of this level is probably my favorite one. It's so much, I don't know why. I like it so much. And probably I'm wrong.
Oh no, it's a very good track. And it kind of blends in there. Oh, C+ getting the nice quick kill on Honeybottom there.
And this will allow him to catch up a little bit with Orangepuddingz. I would like to underline that none of the players had a death thus far. So very good rounds for both of them. And this race is very good as you could have imagined, of course. Very skilled player, very good round. And Orangepuddingz dealing with the last phase of the TwoCplus robot with 2 HP. Having 2 HP at this fight is very handful, because you can deal with this last phase much more calm and less stress. And he got him. Very nice. Very nice. Orangepuddingz. I am very surprised by this round. I mean, I expected a very good race, but this is going beyond all it's getting very beyond my own. I can't say it.
Yes.
But beyond my expectation. Yeah, expectation was the word I was looking for. And yeah.
Yeah, we're down to like a single phase right now. I mean, less than an entire boss between these two runners.
And I believe that time loads are making a little bit of difference, because the execution is more or less the same. I haven't seen big mistakes by both of the runners, so I guess that TwoCplus is suffering a little bit for loads. I mean that is a good chunk of his advantage is brought by actually loads.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, as a result of load times and stuff like that varying across computers and varying across PC versus Xbox, for the most part we use loadless time on the leaderboards, so we actually don't have this issue with load times except on Xbox.
Yes, so that everyone can compete in the speedrunning. Even if a runner doesn't have the best equipment, he can still be competitive and prove his own skills at the same level of other players that maybe have better computers or on the like. In the meantime, Orangepuddingz beat solid stage play. It's a pretty straightforward battle. There's really nothing special to say about this battle. It's just keep hitting her and avoiding stuff, and it's a sort of splitter, I would say, between the robot fight, which is very stressful and very wacky, I would say, and the upcoming fights that are very hard. Starting from the mouse, Werner Wehrmann, our German soldier mouse, who attacks you with a tank made by a can. I don't know, that's strange, but it's so lovely. I love this fight.
Yeah, I do enjoy the fight. I personally find it to be one of the most difficult fights in the entire game. I mean, from a mechanical standpoint, there are harder fights, but I think just with me, where I'm used to running simple all the time, we actually never fight Werner Werman unless you're doing all bosses. But I think my issue with it is just I'm not used to the fight. Like, I've done Calamaria quite a bit, I've done Briny quite a bit, but Werner is like the one fight I just never ever play, and so I'm just not super familiar with it.
Yeah, I would say that in this category, Werner Wehrmann battle is much more harder than, for instance, in other categories than All Bosses Legacy, because in All Bosses Legacy the battle is very short. You can kill the boss pretty much half of the time you need for this category, and just by mashing you don't really have to deal with very scary button attacks by the boss. But here you have to survive longer. Very bad stuff can happen. So this is definitely a tough fight. And Orangepuddingz found himself with only 1 HP more or less at the half point of the fight, but he still managed to survive with a very good time of around 1 minute, and now he's facing the pirate, Captain Breinberg, or Plutus from Popeye.
Yeah, the Briny Beard in itself isn't particularly a dangerous fight, aside from the fact that it is a very busy fight.
Yes.
As you can kind of see, you're having to deal with a lot all at once. You have the little barrel, I think I call it different every race, but the little barrel who will drop on top of you.
Dogfish. This is a very bad RNG for Orangepuddingz.
Oh no.
I mean, you get twice the dogfish, and it's very bad because the dogfish, of course, you have to. They are the hardest. They are the attack to dodge. Of course, if you are dodging attacks, you are more busy at dodging rather than hitting actually the boss. So it's always also the slowest one. Is the hardest to.
I was gonna say, yeah. Currently, Orange is ahead. He just finished the Briny Beard fight, which is where 2C+ is heading into right now.
Amazing run by Orangepuddingz.
Yeah, there's a one boss difference right now. But yeah, like I said, you got the crate to worry about. See, I just called it a crate, and I called it a barrel earlier. You got that thing to worry about dropping on top of you. You have Briny himself shooting you every so often. You have one of 3 animal companions that he can call in at any time. And plus, the boat starts shooting cannonballs at you. So this makes for a very busy fight, and you really need to have a good spatial awareness of everything that's going on around you in order to do well at it.
And the fastest weapon to deal with the pirate is the spread, which is a very short-range weapon. So you need to keep very close to him and keeping close to the pirate. In the meantime, dodging all that stuff, it's not easy.
Yeah, and particularly with those cannonballs. I mean, you get a feel for the timing, but it can be very tricky when you're first starting out to learn when exactly those cannonballs will shoot.
And also this laser that I'm pretty sure that laser took a surprise pretty much every Cuphead player at their first on playthrough. There's no way you can predict that. So I believe that everyone died at least once with that laser. I mean, it's almost everyone, I would say. And Orangepuddingz is at the last phase of the Calamaria battle. A very interesting one. Especially the second phase where you have to deal with a lot of bullets with the ray of the boss himself, which turns you into stone, making you basically not able to move at all. And if you are if you have some bullets aiming at you at that moment, there's nothing you can really do. It's a very tricky fight, but Orange today is definitely destroying the game. Amazing run. I'm very surprised by the performance so far.
Another talk about busy fights. You think of Calamaria. She has one of a few different attacks in her first phase that can all happen. I mean, at most like 2 at the same time, but depending on the combination you get, it can be very difficult to dodge. I think we've seen the Ghost, for instance, right there.
The pattern that TwoCplus got.
The upper fish can be very difficult to dodge.
Yes.
So we did have a question in chat. What is considered glitch that is not allowed in this category? So on the current patch, there isn't a lot different from the standard all bosses category. With the patch, most of the major things got taken out, such as off-screen hitboxes, the weapon swap glitch being kind of the major ones. There are a couple of clips that are still in the game, but for the most part, that aren't allowed in Glitchless. But for the most part, the main ones involve the shop. There's actually a way, if you time it correctly, to buy an item from the shop and exit at the same time. And that's not allowed in Glitchless. That is allowed in the regular category. And also, right after you go to the shop for the first time, the pig comes up and tells you how to equip things. And you can actually pull up your equip menu before that dialogue comes up and do the equipping while that's there. And that's not allowed either. That's not a huge thing because it won't go away until you open the menu anyway. So even if you were to do that and equip the stuff while that dialogue is going on, you still have to close out of the equip menu, reopen it, and close out again.
The auto kill for Orangepuddingz that launch himself towards the rails to fire the last shot to the train of this boss. This boss is really it's very peculiar. You have 4 phases, and each phase is very different with respect to each other. In terms of strategy you need, in terms of attacks you need to dodge, in terms of design, in terms of concept. It's a very tough one. At the same time, it's a pretty fun fight, I would say.
Very much so. Very good boss to serve as the final gateway to hell.
And every time I watch this boss, it's for me. I can only say
one thing that I mean, as far as the glitches and stuff goes, to touch on that question again, the removal of the glitches actually didn't change a lot of the routing. About the only thing it did is change what weapon we use. The other major route change is actually here in King Dice. The way King Dice works is that you move along that path along the background. Each boss or each number corresponds to a different mini boss. And so I think most runners tend to, at least on the Legacy, tend to prefer 2, 4, 9. But for Glitchless, 9 tends to be a very long fight. The reason why it's used in Legacy is that there's a glitch where you can trick the boss into going off screen, and it will count as a kill. And you can finish that phase in a mere second. But that has been taken out due to the patch, and so you really want to shoot for that 8th boss.
Yes,
so it'll be interesting to see what route TwoCplus takes too.
Usually instead in Glitchless you want to face the 8th boss, which is the 8 ball, because that boss it's way easier, it's way faster, and as we are going to see, you can use the spread EX shot to deal lots of damage in very few time, because of what we were telling before. As you can see, when the boss is not shooting, you can fire off pretty much a full spread shot into the boss, making it a very solid choice for routing and dealing with King Dice, going to King Dice as quick as possible.
So theoretically, Orangepuddingz is getting ready to go fight King Dice. However, there is a start over space right before the end, and if he's unfortunate to land on that, then he does have to go to the beginning of the board. But looks like he clears it, no problem.
Fortunately, luckily for him, he managed to roll the dice in the correct way, and now he's facing King Dice. King Dice, if you have basically a lots of HP, it's a very easy fight. There's nothing you are really concerned with. The cards are not a factor because you can simply tank them, taking damage and containing and shooting the boss. No issue whatsoever. Things becomes a little bit trickier if, of course, you are short of HP, because at that point card becomes a factor. You have to dodge them at the same time with the boss, and it may be a little bit nerve-wracking, even because if you die, you have to start over all the bosses.
Yeah, and if you look at the results range for...
misses the dice. This is the very first, I would say, the very first mistake I've seen in the match, because thus far the most runs have been pretty much flawless. I haven't seen any major mistake. It's crazy.
Yeah, but at least now you'll get to see hopefully a little bit of why this boss takes so long. And keep in mind, like I said, on the Legacy, you can kill this in just a matter of seconds by tracking it to go off screen, but we can't do that.
I think Glitchless instead you have to play a little bit of memory in order to kill the boss, because you can actually damage the monkey if you get a pair, if you pair correctly one of the cards in the background. Only at that point you are able to damage the monkey. Otherwise, it's
yeah, and not to take away from C+, but Orangepuddingz getting to the second devil phase with 3 HP.
Yes.
So it looks like we might be seeing a finish here very closely. Very soon, I should say.
It's a very good shape, 2 HPs. The fight is almost over. Just to stay focused. It looks a hit, but it looks like we should be able to do it. Couple of yak shots, and that's it.
That is it.
Finish the race with a TRSRL time of 37 minutes and 38 seconds. Congrats to Orangepuddingz for winning.
Yeah, and not to take away from C+, but Orangepuddingz getting to the second devil phase with 3 HP. So it looks like we might be seeing a finish here very closely. Very soon.
I'm so in trouble with this. It's a very good.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
No idea why that was echoing.
I'm not sure. I just said that Orangepuddingz won and everything. Okay, now should be in good shape. Probably I opened something that causes some little bit of background noise, but anyways.
Yeah, we'll
beat King Dice, and now he's going to face the devil as well. Let's see if Orangepuddingz wants to reach us into the commentary channel for an interview.
And two, I did see the question or the comment about loading times. We did decide to run off of SRL time for this race, so unfortunately, loading time does play a factor in this for the race standpoint. But for the leaderboards, we do have an auto splitter with a load remover to it. And so pretty much all the PC runs, we really try and stick to loadless times, if at all possible, just to eliminate these time issues.
TwoCplus is facing the devil right now. We haven't talked about too much about this fight. This fight is quite likely RNG based, especially in the first phase, because if you get the spider attack when the devil's face turns into actually a spider and tries to stomp you, I call it this button in particular. As you can see, Devils spends more time off screen rather than in screen actually, and when he's off screen you can't hit him, and this makes you lose a lot of time because you can deal less damage in the same time you would do if the boss actually stays on screen.
All right, so it looks like it looks like Orange is ready to pull him in here. GG Orangepuddingz.
Hi Orange, can you hear
Oh,
us?
hi, sorry.
Amazing
GG.
race.
Yes,
Thank
I
very.
you.
say amazing race. You played pretty much flawlessly. No
I
mistakes.
I lost 18 seconds to my PB.
Oh wow, that's pretty fantastic.
I was on
especially for a
PB pace
race.
for a while, but yeah.
Ooh, 2C+ taking a death right at the end of the devil.
Oh,
That's
dang.
unfortunate. We were going to commentate actually a double deathless run, but we were pretty close. Unfortunately for 2C+, his deaths.
So I'm kind of curious, where did he like mess up?
Yeah, I think for the most part, he was just a little bit behind pretty much the entire race, and that was likely just due to loading times.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the only real major mistake I think we saw from either of you was that he wound up accidentally going to Monkey in King Dice.
Oh, that's really bad. Like, that's a lot of time lost, because Monkey is probably like the longest fight.
But at that point you
easily
were
one of
already at the
those
Devils.
people.
Yeah.
You were already at the Devils, so it didn't really matter too much. But yeah, both of you played amazingly. And if,
Yeah, thank you.
and I believe that you actually won the race at the Dragon. You had a kind of bit of tough time with,
Yeah.
especially during the last phase, but you managed to skip calm, to play safe, dodge all the attacks, and
Yeah,
that
I was
makes
just
the biggest
I was just
difference.
playing. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was just playing really safe on the dragon. Like, I knew that I was gonna lose a lot of time, but like, yeah.
And also
Looks like-
TwoCplus finished the race with a time of 42.24 seconds on SRL. GG for TwoCplus. Let's see
GG.
if he wants to join us
And
for the interview.
and while we're got a little bit of downtime, please make sure you go support the runners for taking the time out of their days to participate in this tournament, to put on this show for you all. Make sure you go follow them, give them some support. They've all been really amazing.
Yeah, definitely. Two of the best runners around, I would say, and especially this is not even their main category. They are mainly legacy. Our boss is regular legacy players, and TwoCplus is in third place, I believe. It's an amazing time, and Orangepuddingz is not that far. And I mean, you are for sure in top 10. I don't remember exactly where you are, but for sure in
Top 7, I think.
top 7. Okay, so,
Yeah, so
as you can see, quality stuff today.
Yeah. So it looks like C+ is ready to chat, so we'll bring him in and get his opinion on the race. Hello, C+.
Oh, hello there. How you guys doing? GG to Orange for
Yeah,
the
GG.
victory.
GG to all of you.
Yeah,
It
man.
was an amazing run from both of you, I would say. I'm very proud to commentate you because you played pretty much flawlessly for the entire race. And
Oh, was it a good race? Really close? Because in the end, I mean, yeah, a lot of shit happened.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think the most difference we saw between you guys is maybe a boss, maybe a little over a boss. I think really the deciding factor here, aside from the ending, was just load times.
yes, load times made a lot of difference in this race, unfortunately for you.
Yeah, and I did see the comment in chat about using SRL time, given that the load times can vary so much. This was a choice on my part to use SRL. just because one, that's kind of the standard for racing, and I wanted to stick to that. But I did, and yeah, it is a bit at a disadvantage, and I'm pretty sure we had a couple people back out as to not using loadless. But I guess the main goal of it too is that being our first major tournament, or our first major event in general, that we wanted to keep it as open as possible to anyone who wanted to participate. And that includes Xbox runners who by default can't use loadless times. And so at that point, it was just a matter of, we didn't really have a choice at that point.
I mean,
Okay.
to be honest, I actually signed up for it. I knew from the beginning that I will have this advantage, but it's fun racing. That's the reason I race, because
and that's a good point too. For anyone whose load times may really be affected by this, I think we might have talked to everyone in advance, and we made sure that because we're using load times that they were okay with it. There were a couple Xbox runners who wanted to participate, and I flat out pulled them aside. I was like, look, we are using loadless times for this. You are at a big disadvantage. I just want to make sure you're okay with this before you agree to participate, and all of them were very accepting of it.
Yep. So, shall we talk about the run?
Yeah. Does anyone, by any chance, know what their loadless times are?
Oh, it was 37 something. I just reset it, so can't remember.
Nice. Good time, very good time, very solid.
Yeah, pretty good one. Yeah.
Or 34, I mean, loadless.
Yeah, 34. I assumed you meant 34. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
34 is insane good, considering that the world record is 32 minutes and half, more or less.
I mean, Orange, you were probably close to your PB, right? Extremely close.
Yeah, I was close.
That's pretty nice. GG, dude. I was like, I had a deathless run up until the very end.
Yeah,
that was the only death of the run, I would say.
I mean,
counting both of you, that was the only death we saw in the race.
Yeah, but I mean, to be honest, that mistake that I did on King Dice, that was probably a death itself.
Yeah, it probably cost you pretty much like a death, because you wasted a lot of time. At least 1 minute, I would say. It
cost me actually 1 minute and 1 second, exactly. So that was painful to go through the monkey.
Monkey's a pain.
Yep.
Whatever race. Here, if you get the monkey, you're automatically dead. In Legacy, monkey can rip your run quite easily, I would say. But
at that point, when I hit that 3, I was ready to reset. But then I was like, nah, it's gonna take even longer if I do it all over again.
No, definitely, the correct choice was to actually win the fight regularly, and but at that point, Orangepuddingz was already at the devil, so it didn't really matter a lot.
I figured when I saw you were clicked done, Orange, and I saw your time, I was like, man, he must be really close to his PB. You had a really good race. Nice.
Yeah.
There was a few times where I almost died,
Yeah.
The
devil.
I feel the other.
The dragon, also the bee. You had some troubles at the bee, but you survived, and that was the very. Actually, that was, in my opinion, your best moments, because you managed to stay calm and to keep focused in situations that are very awkward to face in attempts regularly. You can imagine in races when you are about to die, when you're in very tricky spots.
There was a bat that was coming for me at the end, and I thought he was gonna kill me. I don't know if he saw that, but right before he went to his last phase, I thought I was gonna die.
And also TwoCplus, I mean, you play pretty much flawlessly. I don't remember any, apart from the very end, I would say. I don't remember any major mistake from both. Also, RNG has been decent for both of you most of the time.
I missed a cycle on the frogs, even though I got good RNG.
I actually,
that was pretty bad.
You know what? This is the funny thing. I actually had the same thing. I missed the cycle. Yeah, with a good RNG. Like I totally messed up the frogs.
Yeah.
So Orangepuddingz got twice the dogfish at pirate. Which is quite the achievement, I would say.
Dude, oh my god, that was so dumb.
Quite the achievement, I would say, but still, you survived, and that was the only thing that really mattered in that situation. Is just okay. RNG is bad. I'm probably not going to do my best time ever, but the important part is surviving, because TwoCplus was close. So if you died, you would have been in trouble, and actually the race would have been even more close. So.
Justin in chat asks if you're gonna do the question, the traditional question right now.
Oh, of course. It wouldn't be a Cuphead race with. At least when I commentate, it wouldn't be a Cuphead race if I didn't ask. What for both of you? What are your favorite and least favorite boss tracks?
Tracks like the music?
Yeah.
Oh, that one. Okay.
I think probably my favorite is the ghost one, the ghost train. And then I don't really have a least favorite, to be honest. I don't know.
Yeah,
I like pretty much in terms of music or bosses as actually facing the boss.
Oh, I thought.
Well, my question is in terms of music because I've asked this one this far, but.
Well, okay, I think Dragon's my least favorite boss. Like, he's the easiest to choke on. And then favorite is probably like the bird. I don't know.
The bird. Yeah, it looks funny. That's the thing. It has a main loop.
I love this. I can say the bird has the best victory animation of all. With all these minions that 1 second before they were helping him, and the second after he loses, they start putting salt on me. That's awesome.
Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah, that's a funny one. Yeah, indeed. Now, as far as do you have any good bosses, Orange? Like a boss that you would be like, yeah, I did really good in this race?
Not really. They were all kind of mediocre.
Yeah, mediocre. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
I feel you there. I had a lot of red splits, so I don't like that. Yeah, indeed. I actually had one golden split, which is nice. It feels nice when I on the Calamaria.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, when I end those splits, yeah, it's gonna be really nice to see. Some of that's actually pretty good.
Yeah. So a question from chat, asked by Nubitron57, says to ask Orangepuddingz if him being very busy in school affected you in any way.
He's my friend, and he's just trolling because I'm not busy in school. So yeah.
We have a related question. Ask Orangepuddingz how many times he skipped school to practice video games.
Every single day of my life.
Who cares about instructions? But all that matters in life is being with a Cuphead.
Alright, well, I think that will about do it for us, I think, unless there's anything else you guys want to discuss.
I don't have anything else.
We can have a look at the bracket.
GG once again.
Yeah, I do have that pulled up. Yeah, as far as the bracket is concerned, Orange will be facing the winner of Luigi and Cutiru.
Good luck with that.
Yeah. Well, if it's Luigi, free win, so...
Yeah, dude, Luigi, free win.
And TwoCplus will be facing Cypher in the secondary bracket, although I would go so far as to say you're probably just going to win that one. We've had some issues getting a hold of them throughout this tournament.
Oh, okay.
So I've left them in there thus far, just in case they decide to show up. but you're likely going to face the loser of Luigi or Q-Hero.
Oh, Luigi then, right?
And a little bit about the future of this tournament. We don't have any more scheduled matches today. Our next match will be tomorrow at 3 p.m. We'll have Calava versus John Scoutman. Sunday, we will have a double race at 2 p.m. Eastern. It'll be Weliso versus Jason, and then Lindasis versus Laurie. And then wrapping up the end of the schedule as we know it thus far, Monday at noon Eastern, it will be Luigi versus Cutie.
Well, lots of good stuff going on.
Yeah, lots of good races coming up in the next couple days. Definitely check the Speed Gaming schedule to find out where those matches will be held. We don't quite know yet, but just keep your eye on that. And make sure you go support the other tournaments going on. There's quite a few of them, actually, and so, we're just one of many. And I'm sure it would mean a lot to the people running those and organizing those if you supported those as well.
Yeah.
Oh, Ilse is asking something in question. When the next race is going to be, because she missed it.
Yeah, the next race will be tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern. It'll be Calava versus John Scoutman. So if you, I don't know, I'll put up in the chat, but there's the link to the bracket in that thing I just put in chat. If you go there, you can find links to the schedule as far as we know it, and so you can follow along with the tournament and see how things are progressing. TMR, actually, there's a little bit of an issue. We were supposed to have a match earlier this morning with TMR. Something happened with his opponent. I'm not entirely sure what it is. It's none of my business. But they did message me and say that they wanted to drop that race. And so I'm not sure if we're going to try and reschedule that or not. So I'm still waiting on information about that. So, gosh, I don't have the... So, TMR might not be racing for a little bit longer. I imagine the earliest we might see TMR, if they don't reschedule, is after the Weliso-Jason fight, because the winner of that fight will be likely facing TMR.
So yeah, there are no other questions. I believe that's it for now. I don't know.
Yeah, I think there's nothing else. So thanks everyone for tuning in and watching what turned out to be a really, really good race.
Amazing race.
Very good. Major props to both the runners. Thanks them for being here and again participating in the tournament. Again, go follow the runners, give them the support they so rightly deserve. And thank you, like I said, thank you all for tuning in. Thanks to Speed Gaming for hosting us and working with us to get this tournament going and smoothly operating. And yeah, so I guess we will see you tomorrow, hopefully, at 3 p.m.
Yep.
Thanks for watching to everyone, and see you next time. Stay tuned for more Cuphead in days.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.